Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to take you through Tekla Structures 2023 beginner. In today's tutorial, basically I'm going to cover a lesson on how to create grid lines using Tekla Structures 2023. So I'm going to open my Tekla Structures 2023 here. You can see there. Open. It's gonna take a while to load. It's really a heavy or rather extensive program. Therefore, it's gonna take some time to load. So before it opens, well, there we go. Well, you can see here you're supposed to choose the setup that you're supposed to use in setting your model. So basically here we have different environments. So we'll choose well, when I was installing this program, I had to install only two environments, that is the UK and the US. And if you need some other environment like South African, probably code South African environment, we have Turkey and so on and so forth. You'll choose the environment that you need while installing so that you customize your needs. So for this case, I just chosen the US and the UK environment, and for purposes of design, I normally like to go with the UK because looking forward to the Eurocode design. That is, I think, Eurocode 3, Eurocode 1 for, sorry, Eurocode 3 for steel design. So in terms of roles, then you'll also be required to choose the purpose or the role which you play in a consulting firm. So if you know you're a structural engineer, you might like to choose engineer. If you're a detailer, especially those who design light gauge steel and other prefab materials, they normally need to detail and get to know the end game before production. So for the purposes of this design, I'm going to choose steel detailer, and of course the configuration I'm going to adopt is full because I don't want to choose one, and probably I might find myself using all these in the process of this tutorial. So I'm going to focus on full for now, and then I'll hit OK. So the program is opening, and if this is the first time you opening a program like this, then you'll be required to well, here we go. So you can see here I'd already opened one model which I was using to train some of my online students, but for purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to clear all the models so that I can start a new episode for this Tekla Structures 2023. So I'm gonna open new because this is the first time. I'm assuming you're a beginner, you don't know how to go about this. That's why I'm doing everything bit by bit so that you'll be able to see how to go about Tekla Structures 2023. So here I'm going to call this training 1, training material, or training. I can call it training model. Then I can call it episode 1 because in this episode basically we are focused on how to create grid lines using Tekla Structures 2023. I'm gonna hit OK, and the program will take 1-2 seconds to load. So as the program opens, I wish to take you through the layout which I want us to adopt as reference in designing, or rather in modeling in Tekla structures. So I'm going to open my Revit. My Revit structures 2023 was already open. So you can see I had already modeled the layouts for columns and beams which I want to adopt in the design which I'm going to show you. But remember, this episode only we are focused on how to create the grids in Tekla structures. Then in the next episode we should be able to look at how to insert elements like columns. You can insert beams, slabs, etc., etc. So these are the beams, this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. You can see my layout is a bit detailed. It has the grid lines which are normally used for setting out in the x-axis with measurements well detailed there in millimeters, and in the y-axis also the details have been given just to guide you and make your work easier when you are modeling. So if I wanted to directly transfer this to Tekla structure 2023, I just need to go to integration. I'll just need to go to Tekla integration, but in this case, this integrator is basically for structural designer. So I do not yet have an integrator for Tekla structures, but that's why I want to model directly in Tekla structure. So I'm going back so that we can proceed from where we left. So here we go. So you can see immediately the new model is created. It opens up. The first thing that is displayed is the grid lines. The grid lines is in form of a box that is XYZ, meaning it's in 3D form. So so I want to customize this grid so that it can match what we have on the layout. Assume this layout has been provided to you by the architect. So for you to do your structural design, basically the grid lines must be the same and the arrangement of beams and columns must follow that one of the architect, unless in some circumstances where you find that you must introduce some beams, and that one must also be shared with the architect so that the architect can also incorporate the changes in his final design, so that you have something that is similar to each other, so that when you're setting out your structure you don't raise a lot of questions as to which plan to use. So technically, if the plans are the same, then sometimes you can only use structures in setting out, but you use architectural basically to get architectural details, especially how the structure is going to look like in terms of aesthetics and so on and so forth. So I'm going to model basically in Tekla structures what we have here, so that we can be able to see how we can create the grid lines using Tekla structure. So I'm going to hit on the grid line. You can see the plus points here. Immediately you touch one of the grids, we have a wizard displayed on the right hand side. So this wizard is what you're supposed to customize so that you can get exactly what you got. So for this one, I'm going to start with the x-axis, that is grid lines on the x-axis. There is A, B, C, D. You can see the measurements are 4 meters, 3.9 meters, and 4 meters. So that is what I'm going to adopt here. So for you to get the measurements, so you must start from the origin to a point. You need a space of 4 meters. To the next grid line, you'll also need the 900, which is 3.9 meters, and to the next one you'll need another 4 meters. So for the XY axis, for the Y axis, you see the grid lines have been labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to start from here. Okay, I can start from here, 4500, 46, 45, 46, 4400. So for you to be able to model something similar like the one you have in Revit, so here you'll be required to start from 0.0 or rather 0, then move to 44 because I want these 4 meters to 4400 to start from here. Okay, 44 to come down here. So technically when you're setting the grid, it will start from the lower side going up. So because I need my measurements to start from 45 going down, I'll start in modeling from the lower side so that it can be organized in that order. So let's go back to the model. So that is 4400. The next one is 44, 46, 45. So the next one is going to be 4600 and 4500. So next is the Z axis. Z axis now will depend on the number of levels you want to model for your design. If we are saying we are just doing a simple go down with a lower ground that is voluminous because of the movement of machinery and the goods in and out of their warehouse, I'll assume a height of 4500, that is 4.5 meters, and then the upper floor will be 3 meters. The upper floor will be 3 meters, that is 3000. But for the height, now I'm going to use cumulative height here so that I can get the total height as 7500. So down here we have the labels for the x-axis. So you'll start from 0 to 400. 0 will take A. At 4 meters will take B. At 39 will take C and a D. And for this other one, grade Y, will start from 4. Remember the other one we started from 44 instead of starting from the upper side. So we also start with the grid lines from the lower side, which is 4, 3, 2, 1. And for the elevations, or what we call the levels, we are going to adopt plus 0, that is ground floor level, plus 1, that is if you're on suspended floor 1, ground, plus 2. So I'm going to just take 2. This is the upper floor and this is going to be the roof, plus 2. So, and if you move down here, we also have line extensions, and these line extensions basically have been provided by default as 2000 millimeters, which is 2 meters. So from the extension from the grid line, these extensions are going to extend by 2 meters. I'm at 2000 millimeters, and of course the object will be set at the origin. Unless you want to offset it away from the origin, then we can just leave that at default. Magnetic grid plane, we'll just leave that at default. The coloring, font size, we'll just leave everything at default. So I'm going to hit modify so that we can capture the changes. And as we said, these grid lines you're seeing here have been displayed in 3D format, because you can see that in this view you can be able to see both this side and the top. That means the grid line is displayed in orthographic view, meaning it's displaying three points from just the way the box looks here. This is the left, right, and the top, if you normally teach these things in your technical drawing. So this is a orthographic projection of the grid line. So I want to convert these grid lines into 2D so that you can be able to input your elements once ready. So for you to convert these grid lines into 2D format, you'll need to basically to click on one of the grid, right click, and then go to create view, and then create along grid lines, and you'll have a wizard like this, which is displayed. This wizard basically showing you that what you're about to create is the plan view, the elevations on both sides. There is elevation ZY and XZ, and of course the plan XY. So you can decide to proceed and hit OK so that you effect the changes, or I'll cancel because I want to show you another method or now to convert these grid lines into 2D grid lines. So I'm going to go to view, then I'll go to new view, click there, and if you go down you'll find that there is a drop down on along grid lines, which means create view along grid lines. So I will hit that. It should also take me to the same, just like when I was right clicking to create a new view. So this one I'll just hit OK. I'll just leave everything at default. Okay. I don't know why it's not displaying. Let me check whether it's not yet. So let me can start to use this one. Right click, view along grid lines, then I'll hit OK, create. Okay, now it has displayed here. So we have all the grid lines that we proposed on the right here, so that you can see that the levels which we proposed starts from +0. It's given here +0, +1, +2. So these are the floors as you go up from the ground floor to the first floor, second floor, and so forth. And the grid lines as organized here has also been displayed. That is grid 1, 2, 3, 4 and grid 1, 2, 3, 5. So the reason why we want to convert this to 2D grid lines is because sometimes you might want to find a detail at grid 1. If it's a beam at grid 1, it's easier for you to use this kind of views because it's easier for you to touch that particular beam or column at that point. Because sometimes you'll find that it is difficult to choose one at the middle if you do not have this grid line. So for the purpose of demonstrating this, I'm going to choose only plan at 0 because our agenda, and hit OK. Okay, because our agenda basically was to create a grid line that is similar to what we have here from the architect, so that we can be able now to input the columns. These are the columns here, and the beams in that order. So I can comfortably say that I've created these grid lines A, B, C, D. Let's look at the Tekla A, B, C, D, and then starting from 1, 2, 3, 4. What of the measurements? This is 45, 46, and from the architect, this is 45, 46. So that means that the grid lines I've created are accurate with the measurements I have from the architect. So what's remaining here is now to start modeling my elements as per the design. So so far so good. I hope you followed the process which I've explained. So it's your time now to also open your program and try to practice and see how far you can go with the grid generation. So I wish to stop here, and before you clock out, I wish to ask you to hit the bell, like and subscribe for more content. And in the next episode, I'll be covering how to input columns and beams and other structural members onto these grids as per the architect. Thank you, and look forward to you joining my next class.